Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Government clears the air on suspension of licenses by traffic court. SOE and ZOSO being hailed as successes by the police. And later in sports, Usain Bolt receives a BBC Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. A strong response from the government this afternoon to more protest action from taxi operators last evening. The taxi operators are asking for more leniency regarding outstanding traffic tickets, but the government is reminding that the penalty for breaches is entirely up to the courts.
Following a protest by taxi operators last evening outside the Lyndhurst Road headquarters of the RJR Gleaner Communications Group, the government has reiterated that the island's courts have the discretion to apply sanctions on persons who have contravened the Road Traffic Act. Information Minister Robert Morgan also restated in an interview this morning that it was important not to handcuff the courts and prevent them from applying the law where necessary. Mr. Morgan was responding to members of One Voice taxi grouping who expressed fears of losing their road license when attempting to pay outstanding traffic tickets. The taxi operators say several of their colleagues who have turned up to court to clear outstanding tickets have had their license revoked, putting their livelihoods in jeopardy.
The court is saying that they operate by law and by gazette and not by press release. And so it is business as usual. So our drivers that turn up to court today open to catch the deadline for the 31st of January and to save their license. They were charged the fine that is on their their printout. The fine has been doubled in some cases, and after the money is paid, their license has been taken away.
Mr. Morgan says while the government has made legislative adjustments to the demerit point system, it cannot interfere with the courts.
There is no amnesty. What it is that if you have tickets between February 2018 and now, you can attend upon the court if it is over 21 days, and you can engage with the judicial process and deal with the judge in that matter. All the government has done is said the merit points that would have been applied are no longer applied. As was stated to you by some of your listeners who are taxi operators, when they go to court, they have to engage with the process, and the judge in their right, based on the laws of the land, will determine what happens then. The government cannot interfere in that process.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Head of the Area 1 Police, Assistant Commissioner of Police Clifford Chambers, is this afternoon hailing the success of the states of emergency, the zone of special operations, and the work of the police under his command for a reduction in murders over the past month. He was speaking in the parish on Thursday.
We look at our numbers in quarter, and the third quarter that I'm looking on now is better than the first quarter, better than the second quarter, better than the third quarter. So it tells us that the men are working. It tells us that the resources, as little as we got recently, is being put to good use, and it tells me that the leadership of the commanders that I have out there is being put to the test, and they are responding.
The St. Ann Fire Department is reporting a 16% decline in fires when compared to the same period last year.
Activities. 6 subdivision plans were inspected and approved. 7 building plans were approved and 3 were rejected. I'll just move down to education. Our interaction with the public for the month of November has been over 2,000. And as we approach the Christmas season, we increase our interaction with the public because there tend to be a spike in especially residential fires.
Speaking at the St. Ann Municipal Corporation monthly meeting recently, Deputy Superintendent Carl Wilmot also said 106 hazards and violations were found for the month of November.
And a total of 71 inspections were carried out to include industrial and commercial, schools, hotel and guest houses, offices and institutions, early childhood institutions, clubs, bars, grills and other sporting venues.
And with the festive season upon us, Ms. Wilmot is calling on motorists to slow down on the roads.
drivers who and for ourselves who travel, to use the road with greater precaution, with concern for not just ourselves but other road users.
Residents of Warner Street and the Port Maria housing scheme in St. Mary can now breathe a sigh of relief. This as drain repairs have started in a bid to reduce flooding in the area. Sandra Williams reports.
In February, Warner Street and the Port Maria housing scheme in St. Mary were significantly impacted by flood waters following heavy rains. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie reasons that the drains were not adequate to facilitate the high volume of water.
So we committed then to provide funding, first of all, to carry out a comprehensive cleaning of drains within the Warner Street area, not just here, but several other areas within this community. We did some extensive drain cleaning. And then we provided some funding, a little over $4 million, to repair and to construct new areas of the drains.
Mr. McKenzie says the repairs are well advanced. Close to $10 million have also been spent to fix more than 75 meters of banking along Main Street.
They have put in new walls. They have now packed heavy stones that they brought in from Portland to strengthen the area. And as you can see, by looking at what was done, is that this has made tremendous contribution to eliminate the flooding to the extent that used to take place in this area.
And there are plans in the pipeline for other areas as well.
There's a comprehensive program that the National Works Agency along with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development have been working on to deal with flooding and to see how best we can minimize the effects of flooding in the area. So this is just the first of many other such repairs that is slated to take place in the new financial year.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. Much more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Audrey Gordon, says discussions are underway for a temporary garbage disposal site in Westmoreland. During a recent municipal corporation meeting, Mr. Gordon was taken to task by the councillors about the state of garbage collection in the parish. High on the list is the irregular and delayed collection of waste. The councillors argue that by having a disposal site in the parish, trucks would be more available instead of travelling the long distance to the retirement dump in St. James. Notably, Westmoreland has 5 NSWMA garbage trucks.
Can we get a suitable disposal site if we cannot get the retrofitted transfer station of which we are talking? Can we identify a suitable site so that the trucks no longer will travel to Montego Bay, but quicker turnover time, and as such, we will have the garbage being picked up in a timely manner.
In response, Mr. Gordon says a potential location has been identified by the authority.
Because we already have bins that we could put there, put some security arrangement in place, and we could move the garbage to there temporarily, have a loader or something, put it in the bin, and instead of moving 5 trucks during the day, winding their way through Lucy traffic into retirement, as you have quite appropriately stated, we could have probably that 5 truck could be deposited in probably 1 bin.
In the meantime, the NSWMA boss is urging the citizens to containerize their garbage to reduce unnecessary collection delays when the workers arrive. And it's now time for the Business Minute. In the world of business, the Bank of Jamaica rolled out new banknotes on Thursday that are made from polymer or plastic-based material, with the central bank saying it would be incorporating information on how to handle the new money in the introduction campaign to come. Jamaican traders, vendors, and transport service providers are used to folding or crumbling money in the normal course of business, but the BOJ is warning against that type of treatment for the new bills. The notes celebrate Jamaica's national heroes and deceased prime ministers and include a new $2,000 denomination. The polymer notes are smooth except for Braille to identify the denomination for the visually impaired. The new banknotes will enter into circulation next June. In business overseas, the U.S. Senate passed legislation on Thursday authorizing a record $858 billion in annual defense spending, $45 billion more than proposed by President Joe Biden, and rescinding the military's COVID vaccine mandate. Senators supported the National Defense Authorization Act, an annual must-pass bill setting policy for the Pentagon, by an overwhelming 83-11 bipartisan majority. The no votes came from a mix of liberals who object to the ever-rising military budget and fiscal conservatives who want tighter controls on spending. And that's it for the Business Minute. Now for a look at some of the top regional and international stories. In the region, the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, is moving to help fill gaps in regional transportation. The closure of the Leeward Islands Air Transport LIAT in 2020 without establishing an air transport to fill the vacuum has caused chaos for regional transportation. The region's tourism, trade, employment, and commercial activity have all suffered as a result of the decreased airlift capacity. Now, this has hampered the movement of products, services, and people. On the international scene, a government study in the United States has found that more than 7 million patients are misdiagnosed in the U.S. emergency rooms each year. According to the Department of Health and Human Services report, 2.6 million people had preventable harm done to them. Another 370,000 are permanently disabled or died because of a misdiagnosis. The most missed conditions include stroke, heart attack, spinal cord injury, and blood clots. Researchers say non-specific or uncommon symptoms are the strongest factors leading to diagnostic mistakes. And those were the top regional and international stories. And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report.